Did I not introduce myself?
No, sorry, not you.
It's just sports journalism students here. We do a podcast, so we're doing like a World Cup podcast every day, and we're kind of just giving all students an opportunity to kind of host and do a bit of punditry, and get our names out there and release it. So yesterday we had Ian Holloway on.
Oh, brilliant!
I think we've got Sean Dyche coming on in the next couple of weeks. VAR have just ruled out a second Argentina goal.
I've seen that, yeah.
Yeah, have you got it on in the background?
I've got it on, yeah.
Yeah, so have I. So if you don't understand what I'm saying, it's because Argentina have just done something. Although I'm on the ITV hub, so if you're watching on TV, no spoilers.
I'm a little bit in front of you then, I think.
Yeah, I think you'll be about 30 seconds ahead or something.
Yeah, I am. Yeah, I am. Yeah.
So we're just waiting for our tech guy just to come in and just confirm that we're all right to get started. Just do we know where Brian is? Oh.
He tapped out for a minute and just didn't come back.
Yeah. Do you all just want to check your mic levels again? So if we go from Harley.
Hi.
Yeah. Dan.
Hello.
Yeah. Matt. Josh, sorry.
Hello.
Hello.
Yeah, and Sam.
Hello.
All right, there you go. And you can all hear us all right?
Yeah.
Can you hear Neil all right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, so Neil, we've just got some of the other students joining us for after you leave. We're going to kind of do a World Cup sort of review of yesterday and preview of the games today.
No problem.
So it was a clock start. You've been on live for about 2 minutes now.
Oh, right. Right, so we're going to get started, if that's all right with you, Neil.
No problem.
Yeah. So it was a good start yesterday with England, and Jack Grealish has made the headlines, hasn't he, with his celebration, which is in name of Finley, who obviously has cerebral palsy, similar to Jack Grealish's sister, and he's done a bit of that. So do our studio guests, who are just live on YouTube right now, want to show us a bit of that? Wow, nice moves.
Beautiful.
Looks like Daniel Sturridge. So how are we doing? Welcome to the World Cup Qatar, Qatar, a podcast produced and presented by sports journalism students, live from our radio students in Preston. I'm Jack Goodwin.
And I'm Kulfa Mohammed. In a moment, we'll be talking to our special guest today, Neil Critchley, former Blackpool manager and assistant at Aston Villa. But also joining us in the studio are...
Hi, I'm Holly Parker and I support Chelsea.
I'm Daniel Thomas. I support Carlisle.
I'm Josh Knowles and I support Preston North End.
Hi, I'm Matt Salmons and I support the mighty Northampton Town.
I'm Sam Seddon Davis. I support Wigan Athletic.
So we'll be back to you lot in a few minutes, but first we are joined by former Blackpool manager Neil Critchley. Neil, welcome to the Qatar podcast.
Morning, thank you.
How are you doing?
I'm good. Thanks very much. I'm good.
Good. And have you heard about the Jack Grealish celebration?
Yes, I have. Yeah, I wasn't aware of it at the time until he did it, and then obviously I've seen the media and everything afterwards, and it was a lovely moment, a lovely touch, I thought.
Yeah, and just going on to the football and the whole atmosphere around England at the moment, it's a bit of a strange one with it being a Winter World Cup. Usually a lot of people are in beer gardens celebrating England, and you're seeing flags everywhere. It's a bit different, but do you think if we get more performances like we got yesterday, the kind of atmosphere around the country will be much better?
Yeah, I think so, definitely. It was a bit strange seeing some of the supporters in the fan zones yesterday, when normally in the summer they're throwing beer all over the place and you don't care too much because you know you're going to dry out. But yesterday, when it's a bit darker and colder, I didn't see as much beer being thrown about. It was a bit different, but it's still nice to see all the supporters out together, and hopefully if we get more performances like that, then that sort of swell of emotion and euphoria will grow in the country, and there's there's nothing better, is there, when the country comes together and England do well in tournament football.
Yeah, and obviously it was a great opening game for England, 6-2 victory. Any outstanding performances for you?
Oh, I think the obvious ones. I think Jude Bellingham was one of the definite standouts for a 19-year-old boy, really, even though he plays like an experienced man, to perform how he did. He was very eye-catching. I actually first came across him when he was an 8-year-old, when he was at Birmingham in the academy. He was an outstanding player at under 8. So it probably tells me I'm getting old as well. But I thought he was outstanding. Saka as well. But generally, the whole team yesterday, they won the game comfortably. 6 goals in the first game is ideal, and it'll give them a lot of confidence moving into what will be more difficult games now. USA Friday night, isn't it? So that'll be a tough game, I think.
Yeah, and it's interesting you touch on Jude Bellingham. Obviously, as you said, you've been involved with a lot of EFL sides and been involved with Blackpool for the last couple of years. 23 of the 26 players in the squad have featured in the EFL or have either come through an EFL academy or have played in the EFL. How important do you think the English Football League is to the future success of the national squad?
I think that stat tells you everything. It tells you that it's absolutely vitally important. 23 out of 26 have all experienced Football League at some point, whether that's on loan, whether that's coming through an academy, at one of those Football League clubs. It's very rare now for players to go straight into Premier League football. It's very rare you get a Trent Alexander-Arnold who comes through Liverpool's academy and goes straight into the team, or a Marcus Rashford. Most players now have to, because of the standard of the Premier League, how good it is, how competitive it is, most of those players now have to go and experience football lower down, if you like, in the Football League and build their careers. And it definitely shows you how important the Football League is to the future of English football.
Yeah, and off the pitch, obviously there's been a lot of controversy surrounding the Qatar World Cup, and for quite a while now, England and Wales specifically have both said that they're going to wear the rainbow armband to show their support. However, yesterday they chose against it so that they do not get yellow carded. Iran, on the other hand, decided not to sing their national anthem. Do you think that it was a bit shameless of them possibly not to do that just so that they can avoid a yellow card when Iran are possibly, going to lose lives and etc. for disobeying the Islamic reign?
Yeah, I'm not sure. I wouldn't want to get involved in a political debate. I'm not sure why Iran didn't sing their national anthem. You'd have to tell me that one. I'm a little bit unaware of that.
Well, Iran basically are against. A woman got murdered in Iran for not wearing her headscarf correctly, and a lot of people in Iran protested against it, and hundreds of people have lost their lives, and they don't stand with the political regime in their country at the time.
Okay. I think you should do you should do what you feel comfortable in doing, and it's important then that you have the support of everyone around you. England and Wales, for whatever reason, felt that they maybe didn't have the support of maybe the tournament organisers or FIFA or whoever it was. I think they were planning to do it, and then it was it a day before or 2 days before that they found out that players were going to be booked because of it.
Yeah.
So it's a very difficult one. The players are there to play football. They're there to represent their country. And everything else around outside of the game is a little bit out of their control, unfortunately.
Neil, just moving back onto the on-the-pitch matters. In the past, a lot of people have criticised the way England have set up, saying that, the players prefer playing for the clubs, etc. I think it's fair to say that Gareth Southgate has kind of, changed that mood, that format around the squad, that you can tell these players enjoy playing for their national side. From a managerial side of things, as someone has had a pretty successful managerial and coaching career, would you say if you got the opportunity to coach or manage with England, would you say that's the kind of pinnacle for a manager?
Yeah, without doubt, I think so. I think anyone who's an aspiring English coach or manager, if your country comes calling, that is that's a tremendous pull, to go and manage your country. There can be no better feeling than representing your country, I don't think. So, for some of the staff there, and I know what the feeling will be like. Many, many years ago, I experienced it at a very different level in playing. And it was, it's an incredible feeling. So, like everyone, I think everyone's behind England in this competition, and I hope we do extremely well.
Yeah, and sticking with club football, so obviously you've left Villa in recent weeks. Would you say that was a fair dismissal?
A fair dismissal?
Yeah.
Well, obviously not, no, because I've got sacked, so I understand the reasons. Whether I agree with them or not is out of my control. You try and do the best that you can do whilst you're at the club. I was only there for a short period of time. It didn't go the way that we would have wanted it to go, obviously. There was various reasons for that. But no, when you lose your job, it's not a nice feeling. It's the first time I've been in this situation. But I've been in football a very long time, and I know the industry and what it's like. So, unfortunately, it's part and parcel of the game.
Yeah, and you recently, obviously, you left Blackpool to become the Aston Villa first team coach. A lot of Blackpool fans have perhaps criticised the way that you kind of left this summer. How would you respond to those critics?
It was difficult. It was an extremely difficult decision to make. I had special time at Blackpool, really special people, fantastic club. Right from the owner, Simon, to the Brett Geraghty, the chief executive, Ben Mansfield. The support I got from the fans and the players was incredible. However, the lure of the Premier League, I've been working and coaching since I was 18, and I never had a chance to work in the Premier League. And those opportunities don't come round very often. I can't, unfortunately, pick the timing of when that opportunity came. And obviously, my relationship with Steven Gerrard, which I built at Liverpool for about 18 months. He was an outstanding footballer, but he's an even better person. So when he comes knocking on your door and asking, will you come and work with me? I found it very difficult to say no to him. The timing, look, in the summer it would have been much better. I was actually away on holiday. It would have been much better if it would have been, I could have done that sort of face to face. But, the timing was out of my hands, unfortunately.
And what's next for you, Neil?
What next is, well, at the moment I've got quite a little bit of free time on my hands, so I am trying to do everything I can to upskill myself and prepare myself for the next opportunity. So, preparing, watching many games, reflecting on the experiences of what I've had in the last few years, and then being open-minded on what might present itself in the future. Who knows? Hopefully I'll be fortunate enough for someone to offer me a good position at some point.
Yeah, and obviously there's a lot of vacancies coming up in the EFL at the moment. One of the most harsh sackings you've seen recently was Liam Richardson, who's done fantastic work with Wigan Athletic. Would you say management at times is just a bit too harsh? Do you think more managers need more time? Do you think there needs to be more stability?
Yeah, definitely so. I think every manager, if you ask every manager what would, what sort of one thing that's missing is time. It's a rare commodity now in football. Liam Richardson done an incredible job at Wigan in administration during the pandemic, get them promoted, and they had a little bit of a tough spell recently, but I'd fully expect him with the players he's got and the staff he's got around him to come through that. Everyone in the Championship suffers a bad spell at some point. Every team. So I'd have expected him to come through it. And you're right. Every manager would want time. I think they'd back themselves, given that time. And then if it doesn't work out, at least then it would be easier to accept if you lost your job, because you say, well, I was given a fair crack of the whip. I was given time to prove myself. And unfortunately, that I say, in football nowadays, time, you don't seem to get a lot of time and patience now.
Yeah, thank you so much. Thank you so much for coming on, Neil. And
Welcome.
Yeah, we really appreciate you coming on, Neil. We hope you enjoyed it.
Yeah, fine, thanks.
Yeah, and
really
good.
enjoy it. Yeah, thanks for having me on there.
Good luck with whatever happens in the future.
No problem.
Right. So we have just heard from Neil Critchley, one of only 16 UEFA qualified coaches to reach that top level of qualifying UEFA elite licenses. And we're just moving back to our studio guests here. So we do have our sports journalism students with us. Guys, he made a really interesting point on the captain's armband, didn't he?
Yeah. I think you said earlier that the Iranian team, that they're risking everything, their lives, the safety of their families to make a point. I think that England and Wales, they can risk a yellow card.
Yeah, I think it made England and Wales look quite weak. Just personally, that Iran were risking a hell of a lot more than just a booking. So in terms of what England and Wales could have done, for me, they probably should have looked at other ways to do it. There's been sort of people suggesting they could have given it to coaches or different players, like a squad player, that maybe you could risk a booking and it not prove too effective later in the tournament. So personally, I think Iran made them look weak to me.
So I think a little differently there. It makes sense to me that they didn't wear their armbands. I don't think it's really worth risking your captain getting booked and missing them for other games in a World Cup. I think the fact it's a World Cup is lost on some people because it is at a different time. It's an important tournament, and losing your best players isn't the best way to go about it. I think, Alex Scott wore her armband on is it BBC? So I think that's enough really to show that that team does support those kind of things.
And from that, you just heard all the students at Roper Hall celebrating, which was a great atmosphere to be at yesterday, because obviously England did take a 6-2 victory. So obviously Southgate did decide to play a bit more attacking. He brought Grealish and Rashford off the bench. Would you finally say that Southgate is releasing the handbrakes?
I'd say so, definitely. I think the change of formation, I don't, obviously a couple of days before, people were suggesting he might go 4 at the back, which was a bit of a talking point. But in terms of how we attacked Iran, certainly in friendlies and past qualifiers at Wembley, you've seen us come against nations we should be beaten by a scoreline of like 6-2, and instead we've sort of sat back and it's just been passed around quite a lot, passed around the back sort of thing. So yeah, I'd definitely say that he took the handbrakes off a little bit and went for a more attacking style and more attacking starting 11, and it paid dividends.
I think it's important, though, not to get too carried away, because we were against Iran, who were, let's be honest, pretty awful. So I think, yeah, Iran we should have beaten, and obviously we scored 6, which is unbelievable. And they were 6 good goals as well. They weren't, 6 tap-ins that we usually see from Harry Kane or whatever. But I think it's important to kind of stay level-headed and not get too carried away, because, everybody's, it's coming home has been played, all over the country last night. But I think we should just remain calm. We've obviously not got massive challenges in the group. Obviously, I think USA is going to be the toughest game, and Wales are going to be no pushover either. But we've not faced a big team yet. Iran, with all due respect to them, aren't the greatest team we're going to play against, and it's important not to get too carried away, I think.
Yeah, I think they've set a good set in stone for the first game, but I think for obviously Friday's game and the couple of games coming up. They need to keep it up with that, and I think Gareth Southgate did make a good decision with the team. Obviously bringing Rashford on last minute, obviously got that goal. But I think he needs to kind of stick to a certain situation that he's got with the team so far, and I think it might go quite well this year.
So you think he sticks with the same 11, Harley?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah. Does anyone disagree? Do you think Rashford or Grealish or Callum Wilson after their impacts yesterday?
I don't think it would do too much harm to just have a bit of rotation. Whilst America will be probably our toughest game of the group stage, I still don't think. I think we've got the strength and depth to be able to rotate and still be winning comfortably. So I would like to see some of the players that came on and made an impact possibly get a start and have the opportunity to put that performance across a longer period of time.
And there's plenty of others that can come in as well. You've got the likes of Trent on the bench. It'd be interesting to see how he fits into an England team at the World Cup. Obviously, we know how attacking he is at Liverpool, so to see how he fits in, especially with the back four that we played yesterday as well, would be interesting. And then, Rashford and Grealish, I think, deserve a start as well after their performances yesterday, and obviously getting the goals and that celebration from Grealish as well. Obviously, I don't think any of us knew at the time what it was about, but Sam's doing it there again. I think she quite likes it. But yeah, I don't think any of us knew about it at the time, but it's such an amazing story as well to see that. So I think Grealish I'd love to see start. I think he's one of our best players. I remember during the whole of the Euros final, I was shouting at the TV, get Grealish on. So to see him play 90 minutes against America on Friday would be good. I think you've got to keep Kane up top. I think he could be a golden boot contender. Once he gets his first goal, I think they'll probably start flying in. So keep Kane up top and hopefully he gets that first goal. And yeah, like I said, they'll start flying in for him.
Yeah, and obviously yesterday was also Wales versus America. Wales had a tricky first half with the US scoring first, but they came back afterwards. Would you say, however, that, staying on the Wales, talking about Gareth Bale, would you say a team has ever been so reliant on an individual player?
I don't think so, actually, because I think when Wales got a lot better, it was after Kiefer Moore came on the pitch. So, and 2016, when they got to the Euro semis, it wasn't Bale that scored the winner, it was Hal Robson-Kanu, who'd just been released by Reading at the time. So I think with Wales, that you don't see with a lot of other teams, it's sort of more a unit. They're all working just more like a club atmosphere, which is something I've heard about them a lot.
Just on that, I would sort of agree that Bale is sort of not necessarily a one-man team, but they do heavily rely on him. If you look back, barring the Hal Robson-Kanu Cruyff turn against Belgium, it's quite a lot of their big moments do tend to heavily involve Bale in some capacity, and I think Bale's one of those players that he might even not be on his best form on the day, but he can still come up with the goods. He got a lot of criticism yesterday for his first half performance, not really being too heavily involved, and then he comes up with a penalty and keeps Wales within strong contention in the tournament. So I would say that he is a player heavily relied on by the country.
Why was there such a stark contrast between the two halves? Why were USA so dominant in the first and so rubbish in the second?
I think Kiefer Moore's impact it's a big difference. I do think that he should be starting those matches, to be honest. He's a tall guy, he's a strong guy, he's good at his football. And I think he does deserve more playing time with his country. He does make that big impact, and it showed yesterday. It was the main difference between the playing, I think.
I think it's also that first half could come down to nerves. This is the first time Wales have been at a cup for 50, 60 years. So they're going to be nervous. There's a whole new generation of Wales fans that haven't seen Wales play at the World Cup before. There's no way that wouldn't have been on the Welsh players' minds. And obviously the Americans qualify for the World Cup a lot more regularly than Wales do, so they're probably a little bit more used to it. So I think it would come down to nerves, and obviously whatever Rob Page said at half-time obviously worked, and the substitutions as well. And then, like we said, Bale comes up with the goods like he always does for Wales. And I'd going back to that point on relying on him, I'd agree that they do. I think it's always him that has the big moments, 9 times out of 10, and he's their star man. So Yeah, I think that the nerves in the first half would have kind of gone away by half time, and whatever Rob Page said to them at half time obviously worked because they got back into the game and got a good result.
And they seem to score when it matters. Do you think Welsh fans can believe? You know, Euro 2016, it was incredible. They got to the semi-finals on the way after beating Northern Ireland and Belgium before eventually losing to Portugal in the semis. Do you think they can believe? Can they go as far as the Final Four?
It'll be tough because they've got some, there's some strong competition there not only in their group. I think they should beat Iran, judging on what we've seen from them yesterday. England are obviously going to be a tough test. As England fans, we all hope to win that one. So it's going to go down to if they can get out of the group, how are they going to perform when they play against that first big team. I think they could get out of the group, but I don't see them going much further than kind of the round of 16.
I do think that Wales have a good chance of coming second in that group. Obviously, beating England would be a tough task, but I do think they're the same sort of quality as USA going into this tournament, and they have a good chance of getting out of it, to be honest, getting to the knockout stages.
And just moving on to, at the moment, it's just half-time. Argentina are 1-0 up. We are recording live on YouTube as well, so Argentina at half-time, 1-0 up. They've had 2 goals disallowed for VAR, but it was a Lionel Messi goal that put them ahead. Matt Salmons joins us. You've already spoken quite a few times, but you are previewing Group C. We've got 3 more games to go today, haven't we?
Yeah, so in Group C, we've got Mexico versus Poland, and then later on we've got Denmark versus Tunisia and France versus Australia, both in Group D. Josh, which game are you going to be looking out for today? What's your game of the day that you're going to be most excited for?
In terms of quality, I think it will probably be the second game in Group C between Mexico and Poland. I think that will probably be the most even. So we could see a bit of a tight scoreline there, but hopefully a few goals and a bit of quality on the pitch.
I think that game is probably going to decide who goes through to the next round out of them two, right?
Yeah, I'd say so. Obviously, you'd fancy Argentina to top the group, and they've even just looking at his first half performance, they could have had a hatful if they'd just managed to hold the line for a couple more seconds. So, yeah, I'd say so.
And both sides have got some big players to look out for. Mexico got Hirving Lozano of Napoli, 16 goals in 60 appearances for Mexico. His World Cup record's not terrible either, a goal and an assist in the 4 games he's played at the World Cup. Poland, we all know about Robert Lewandowski. His goal-scoring record speaks to himself. I've gone for Piotr Zielinski as well to watch out for from Napoli. 9 in 74 for Poland. No goal involvements yet at the World Cup, so we'll be keen to get his World Cup record going. Dan, in terms of a score prediction for Mexico versus Poland, what are you thinking?
With a game like that, I would say it's 2 teams more focused on attacking strength, maybe a scoring draw, like 2-2 maybe.
Cool, and then moving on to Group D, we've got Denmark versus Tunisia. Denmark were my dark horses for the tournament, Sam. How far do you see them going?
I think Denmark could do really well. Having Christian Eriksen back in a big tournament is going to make a difference for them. The way they performed in the Euros, they were real dark horses, did a lot better than anyone else thought. So if they can carry that quality into the World Cup as well, I think they'll do good for themselves.
And Harley, Tunisia have never gone past the group stage at a World Cup. I can't see them getting out of this group. Can you see them beating Denmark today? What do you think the score's going to be?
I think with Eriksen, with his first tournament since the Euro incident, I think he's got a lot to play for. I think he's going to do really well for Denmark, but I think Tunisia might step it up this time. I think they might do it.
Just stepping in there, just going back to Mexico-Poland, there seems to be a bit of a curse on Mexico in the sense that they can never get to that 5th game. So ever since 1994, they've always been knocked out in the round of 16. So in 94, they were knocked out by Bulgaria. 98, knocked out by Germany. 2002, it was USA. 2006 and 2010, it was Argentina. 2014, it was Netherlands. And 2018, it was Brazil. So they've always, ever since 1994, have been knocked out in the last 16. This is the first time Mexican fans are actually worried that they might not even make it to the last 16. Do you think they're fair for having those concerns? Are they not at their peak of their powers?
Yeah, I think if you look at the squad, they've not got too much strength in depth really, and they're obviously in quite a tough group. obviously Poland's a tough first game, and they've still got Argentina to come. So I think the fans are right to have a bit of a worry of not reaching their usual stage.
And obviously you've got the France-Australia game coming up as well. Would you say all the injuries that have hit France, especially in recent weeks with, Benzema being ruled out just recently and multiple other strikers, would you say that could impact their World Cup journey?
Yeah, well, I think France, there's no doubt that they're heavily favourites. The power and strength that they've got in their squad, despite losing key players that you've just mentioned, I think is going to be far too much for Australia. I can't see Australia doing massively well in this tournament as well. I think France and Denmark are going to be the ones that get out of this group. I am going to be rooting for Australia. I mentioned that I'm a Northampton fan earlier. Our manager's Australian, so I'm going to be backing John Brady's boys this evening. But I don't think that there's much chance of them winning. Dan, how do you see this one going? Surely it's got to be a France win.
Well, you say that, but you look at the curse of the World Cup winners failing to get out of the groups. Can you really rule anything out? But as a rational person, you'd expect France to get out, but I think they might not do as well as people expect.
Sure.
I could see Denmark sneaking ahead of them at the top of the group, maybe.
Surely France and Denmark, guys, make it out of this group now. Tunisia and Australia, not being disrespectful to them, but France and Denmark are two of the top European heavyweights there are.
Yeah.
Surely it's just a battle between them two on who's going to win the group.
Well, you look at Australia and you see Jamie McLaren. It's his first World Cup, and he's been doing really well with Melbourne City during the club season. And even for Australia, he's got 8 goals in 26 appearances, so he could be the difference maker for them. And like Dan said, there is the World Cup curse of the winners not getting through to the knockout stages, so you never know.
I can't see France not getting out of this group. I think it would be an absolute disaster for them to not go through. I think the same for Denmark as well. I think Denmark are much better than both the teams, and like I've said before, Tunisia have never progressed from the group stage of a World Cup, and I don't see that changing. Australia were knocked out in the group stage last time as well. Their best performance has only been the round of 16, which is the first round after the group stage, and that was back in 2006. So yeah, I think it would be a disaster for France and Denmark to not get out of this group, but stranger things have happened in football. You never know.
So that's all we have time for today. So thank you very much, guys, for joining us in the radio studio. Before we leave, do you want to give us a final little Finley? There we go. Very, very nice. And hopefully we'll see more of that with more England goals and more Jack Grealish goals as we head out of the group stage. Thank you also to our special guest, Neil Critchley, as he looked at what happened yesterday with the World Cup and also looked ahead for his own managerial career. Those of you watching live on YouTube, it is still 1-0 to Argentina against Saudi Arabia.
And thank you to everyone in the studio. Matt. And thank you to everyone in the studio, Matt, Sam, Josh, Dan and Harley. This podcast was produced and presented by sports journalism students at the University of Central Lancashire in Preston. If you liked it, you can follow us on Spotify and share it with your friends. Thanks for listening, and we'll be back at the same time tomorrow.